Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So a big poll drop came out today and it apparently seems to be very good news for Republicans. The Labor Day bump is real. It is showing as more polls start using likely voter screens, and a lot of these very competitive Senate races appear to be a little bit more favorable for the Republicans than many had really expected a couple of weeks ago, solely based off of the polling. We know how these things work. Typically, Republicans surge later, and even then there tends to be a sizable polling error in quite a few of these competitive states, especially those that are up in the Midwest, which means that if Republicans are leading the polls right now or are closing in places like Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, that tends to bode very well for their prospects at winning those states come November. So we're going to dive into this, but yesterday I must say we had our final primary stream. I'm not making a video, at least on the main channel, analyzing it, because I just feel as if it's kind of like beating a dead horse at this point. But if you want additional analysis for the aftermath of last night, you can get that video on my website, redeaglepolitics.com. You could sign up there for just 16 cents a day. It's $5 a month. You could join the Discord, get all my exclusive videos. The link for that will be in the description. But I also have to tell you guys about our latest sponsor over at the Epoch Times. What is the Epoch Times? The Epoch Times brings you breaking U.S. and world news on all your devices and original Epoch TV programs like popular podcasts and award-winning documentaries. Why do we trust the Epoch Times? They report important news and facts that other media ignore. They focus on clear fact-based journalism without hidden agendas, so you can arrive at your own conclusions. Despite the attacks from many sides and the defamation from other media, the Epoch Times continue to dedicate themselves to reporting the truth, so give them a try. We'd think you like it. We have a special offer for our viewers here, $1 for 2 months. So go to epochtime.es/redeagle and subscribe. So they had a poll today out of the state of Wisconsin, out of Marquette University, and it shows that Ron Johnson has taken the lead over Mandela Barnes, which I have been saying for quite some time now, that there is virtually no chance that somebody like Mandela Barnes is going to be able to galvanize enough of the Obama-Trump voters in the driftless area in southwestern Wisconsin to turn out to vote for him so that he could defeat Ron Johnson. Because if you're a Democrat in the state of Wisconsin, that is what you have to do. You win not just by driving up the margins in Madison and Milwaukee, which those two counties account for not even a quarter of the state's population, by the way, but you have to, cut into the Republican margins in a lot of these rural areas that have been swinging to the right. Mandela Barnes is somebody that plays identity politics constantly, goes out there and says the founding of America was evil on the 4th of July, and has basically come out in support of a lot of these far left policies. And Ron Johnson is somebody who is decently popular. He's been around for a while. He won out of nowhere in 2016 by a decent amount, and nobody really anticipates him to lose in this environment. But there were polls out of even Marquette University last month that showed, even among likely voters, that Johnson was at 45 and Barnes was at 52, and we laughed them off. And then Trafalgar dropped a poll that showed Barnes ahead by 1 point, and then we're like, what's going on with Trafalgar? There's no way that this is possibly happening. Well, Marquette dropped a poll today that shows that Ron Johnson has taken a lead. And these are the same polls that at this point in 2016 said that Ron Johnson was down to Russ Feingold by 6 or 7 points, and he ended up winning by, 3 to 4? So even so, I would take these polls with a grain of salt, and they're still underestimating Johnson. But even these polls are showing Johnson in the lead, which truly says something. And for the governorship, in terms of Tony Evers, a lot of people are saying he might survive. He's up in this poll 47 to 44, 47 as an incumbent to 44. However, they also polled a third-party independent who dropped out of the race, who had 5%. That same individual ended her campaign and endorsed Tim Michels. So what does that tell me? It tells me that Tim Michels is also likely ahead in Wisconsin, even according to Marquette, which is a pollster that consistently underestimates Republicans even in their final poll in the state by 5 to 10 points or so over the past, I guess you would say, 8 years of polling. So that tells you everything that you need to know about the state of Wisconsin. The fact that it is not going to go in the Democrat column this year, most likely for either the governorship or the Senate race. I think Ron Johnson's going to win by close to 7. I think Tim Michels is going to win by probably 3 or 4 points at this point over Tony Evers when it's all said and done. So that's really it for Wisconsin, but that's not even the only poll that we have to analyze today, because there also was a poll that dropped out of the state of Nevada, and it was from The Hill, who teamed up with Emerson, not exactly a right-leaning pollster, that has Adam Laxalt winning, and not only is he winning, he is defeating Catherine Cortez Masto, the incumbent, who is at 41% in this poll that dropped today. Laxalt now leads in the RCP average over Cortez Masto by 1 percentage point, and there are a lot of undecideds, many of which disapprove of Joe Biden and are from groups that are trending to the right, and that should tell you everything you need to know about the state of this race, especially because of the fact that the last poll that they did back in July had Cortez Masto ahead by 3 points. So that is a 4-point shift to the right. I understand Nevada is a hard state to poll. They sometimes will have a polling error in one direction or the other, but it seems as if Laxalt has all the momentum. Cortez Masto is one of the weakest, if not the weakest, incumbent up in a swing state this cycle. And apparently it seems as if Laxalt has the upper hand. He's building momentum as the weeks go by. And if the national environment does end up shifting a little bit more to the right, Laxalt could win by a more sizable margin than I think a lot of people would truly expect him to win by, which would be absolutely huge, because Nevada is a state that is kind of in limbo. Democrats have had control of it for so long, and Republicans tend to be showing some signs of slowly making gains, and then you have the party takeover by crazy people from the Democrat Socialists of America. And as time goes by, the Reid machine is completely collapsing. The infrastructure is going to be taken over by people who are very incompetent and really will just let it go to waste. And Republicans are building up their own infrastructure, and they will do so even more after they win in the midterms in November. The same pollster had Joe Lombardo tied with Steve Sisolak, who's the incumbent governor, which also kind of lends credence to the fact that it seems as if Republicans might flip the governorship, because among very likely voters and the most enthusiastic voters in that poll, Republicans led by 2 points and counting. So this is very interesting, and we're still a couple of months away from the election, and it shows that Republicans are starting to get a little bit of momentum in a lot of these races, whether it's Arizona, whether it's Nevada, whether it's Wisconsin, or whether it's Georgia, which we have to talk about that, because there was another poll that dropped, another garbage poll from one of the worst pollsters in America, Quinnipiac University. We always laugh at their polls. They've always been the outliers consistently. And they show Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp in a virtual tie, which, again, everybody knows that's not going to happen. Even Democrats, probably every Democrat in the Georgia party, except maybe Stacey Abrams herself, believes that at this point Brian Kemp is going to win by probably over 5 percentage points. So the fact that they have Brian Kemp barely ahead can kind of tell you how weak of a poll it truly is. And then they also have Herschel Walker down by 6 points to Raphael Warnock. However, the same pollster approximately a month or two ago had Herschel Walker down to Warnock by 10 points. And we laughed at it then, and we're going to laugh at this now, obviously. But Quinnipiac is notorious for their awful polling. This is just another prime example. But even in Quinnipiac, Herschel Walker is gaining. And then in every single poll that we've seen that's been released ever since, the end of July, it seems, Herschel Walker is leading every single poll. This is despite the fact that he has been outspent in ads. 3-to-1 vicious attack ads have been thrown his way. And obviously, we know college football season is really ramping up. The Herschel Walker commercials that will likely be airing during the Georgia Bulldogs games are probably going to bring home a lot of independents and undecided voters. And there's so many people that are also ignoring that as a potential factor as well, which a lot of people might laugh at that and say, how does that exactly add up to politics? But these cultural institutions and the, underlying factors of, certain candidates and how well respected they've been in certain institutions for a long time, institutions that are held in high regard of a lot of, people and undecided voters in a state can really, sway the outcome of a lot of these elections. And even in this Quinnipiac poll, it shows that Joe Biden has a 44% approval rating and a 53% disapproval rating, which means that it's probably even more lopsided than that in reality. Not a good look for Joe Biden whatsoever, especially ahead of the 2024 election, which we'll be covering after the midterms. And in the Nevada poll that showed Adam Laxalt up by 1 and Lombardo and Sisolak at a dead heat tied, Donald Trump was defeating Joe Biden by 3 percentage points in the state of Nevada, which would be a flip for Trump, a state he did not win in 2020 or even in 2016, which would be a huge pickup. It's only 6 electoral votes, but that state is a state that could be a Republican state between now and the end of the decade, which is really saying something. And also, if Donald Trump is leading with less undecided voters in that poll than for the governorship or the Senate poll, it shows that a decent amount of those voters, because Trump has the widest margin of victory, could very well come home and, pad the margin of victory for Laxalt. So we have a long way to go between now and the midterms, but Republicans are in a decent position. If they win Nevada, if they win Wisconsin, and if they win Georgia, there's no path forward for Democrats to, hold the Senate. I firmly believe they won't hold the Senate. We'll have to wait and see what happens in Pennsylvania, but if Georgia is going to flip, Nevada's going to flip, Arizona apparently seems to be on track to flip in terms of the polling trajectory. Masters is only down by around, 4 points or so. At this point, McSally was down by 10 to Mark Kelly, and she only ended up losing by around 2 points. So apparently, if you apply the polling trajectory, you never know. Mark Kelly could very well lose to Masters. That'd be 52. And if Oz wins, that would be 53. So still, we'll wait and see what happens. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below. Comment down below. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.